Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Randy Economy, chairman of Saving California. Randy, thank you so much for joining me.
Good afternoon. It's great to be here.
It is great to have you, and I think that this is going to be a real follow-up from a conversation I had last month with Dr. Houman Hamadi, who sits on the board of directors of Saving California. And we talked about the organization's beginning steps to try to recall the governor, Gavin Newsom. And at the time, as we know, in the month of January, we just saw devastating wildfires completely ravage the Los Angeles area, burning tens of thousands of acres, destroying thousands of homes and different properties, and also causing hundreds of billions of dollars of damage. And California lawmakers like Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass have faced a lot of criticism, a lot of blame over the response to the wildfires. And this week, Saving California made an announcement regarding the recall effort, so we will get into that. But before we do, can you just describe what the sentiment has been like to state leadership over the past 2 months?
I think the fires have lit a political firestorm against Governor Newsom. I think sometimes there's an old saying that they have in religion sometimes. It says, with fire comes blessings. And as devastating and as tragic and as horrific as these fires have been in the Palisades and in Altadena, I think the blessings we have is that it's been able to have people wake up. It's had people to be able to understand what government can and what government should do for them, and the inequity and then just basically how it's failed so many years. And so this wildfire was caused by politicians because of their neglect. And I'm almost like saying, like, it's almost like criminal neglect, because they knew this was coming. I mean, they knew that we were having 100-mile-an-hour winds, and they knew that, the infrastructure of the utilities are just so failed here in California that, they knew this was on its way, and the response was pathetic and tragic. And and Gavin Newsom has blood on his hands. And I don't mean to be so dramatic, but he truly has blood on his hands because of these fires.
I know that in times of tragedy, a lot of the times people say, hey, let's not make it political at the moment. Let's take a step back here. But I think something that we saw in California was in the midst of these wildfires, celebrities, and oftentimes seemingly left-leaning celebrities, calling out this leadership by name. What makes this different this time? And what do you say to criticisms of, hey, you're making a tragedy political?
Everything is political when it comes down to the governor of California or the president of the United States. Yeah, it is political. And thank God we have the ability to do what we're doing at savingcalifornia.vote and being able to hold this one crappy politician accountable by doing the heavy lifting, getting the signatures on pieces of paper, and holding a recall election. So yeah, it is political, and that's not a bad thing. It's just the fact of life, and everything's based around politics. Nobody wants to say it and admit it. I just did.
When I spoke with Dr. Hamadi last month, it was in the wake of those wildfires, and he said that the wildfires were essentially the straw that broke the camel's back here, but this recall effort has been in the works for a little bit. So can you explain where you're at now when it comes to the recall of Governor Gavin Newsom?
Sure. Like I said, we had been working on this recall for about the last 6 months at Saving California. I had established an amazing board of directors, including Dr. Hamadi and so many amazing, just passionate people that have really never, they've been involved in politics, but they've never been involved in something at this scale. So I was very methodical and very calculating in regards to putting together the best and brightest together on one team at Saving California at .vote. And that's what we've been able to accomplish. So I think that the next step is something that happened just miraculously yesterday. Was our press event with fire victim Mel Gibson, and I know he's one of the most iconic people in the world. But Mel has lost everything. Mr. Gibson has lost absolutely everything on these fires, and he's devastated. And yeah, things can be replaced. Memories can be lost forever. But this could have been prevented, and it could have been taken care of so much easier. All you needed was, a fleet of airplanes to start doing this super scoopers and get that water on those fires immediately. There was no water in the actual fire hydrants. The water pressure was non-existent. So this is the responsibility of government. Believe it or not, it's the government's responsibility to make sure that the health, safety, and welfare of its citizenry is the number one and top priority. And this has just been a cataclysmic and tragic failure of epic proportions. And now I don't even know how many billions of dollars it's going to take to be able to physically rebuild these areas, if they'll ever be able to be rebuilt. Maybe they will never be rebuilt. Maybe they'll just have to think about, now what do we do? So I think that's where we're at. And yesterday we held this massive press event kicking off the official part of the campaign. Mr. Gibson was so kind and so generous of his time and so passionate and eloquent in his remarks yesterday, because he hurts. He's hurting. His friends are hurting. His neighbors are hurting. Californians are hurting. And I think yesterday was the first day of the recall campaign. And get ready, Governor. It's coming at you, buddy.
I spoke with a California native as the wildfires were ravaging through Palisades, and just the stories, the images coming out of California at the time were extremely apocalyptic, especially when you realize California is the 5th largest economy in the world, and you're seeing these images. I mean, it's really hard to square the two facts together. Dr. Hamady last month said that there's a nonpartisan effort to find Newsom's replacement that you guys are undertaking. Who would you want to see replace Governor Gavin Newsom?
That's not my job. That's not our job at savingcalifornia.vote. That's up to the voters. Our job is to hold this one politician accountable and to fire him under California Constitution. And so we have the ability to do that. I'm not sure who is going to replace Governor Newsom in the next 5 months, but we're going to have there will be somebody who will obviously be taking his place. That's not our job. But let me do a big huge but here. If something happens and we find somebody we think is a ideal leader, that might be a wonderful fit for us, absolutely we'll be more than glad to talk to anybody and all. And we've already talked to several candidates that are running next year, and they're angry also, and they're concerned. But this is not going to be a traditional governor's campaign because of the fact that Newsom is quote unquote termed out, but he's not termed out. He's running for president, and I think he's going to continue to use his office and to be able to leverage whatever he can financially. I'm talking into the hundreds of millions of dollars in donations to be able to mount his campaign for president in 4 years.
Do you think that he has a political future? Because I know you mentioned that you think he's going to run for president. His name has been floated for Democratic nominee. But sure. On any campaign ad that you would do against Governor Newsom, you're going to put him, and you're going to put those fires, and you're going to put the devastation. So do you think that he has a future outside of being governor of California and finishing that term out?
Sure. He's the slickest politician in America. He's out of central casting. He thinks he's a leading man in politics. I think he's becoming just nothing more than a 2-bit background player. But you have to recognize the fact that he is the most powerful governor in America. The Democratic Party's in shambles right now. They have nobody. They have nobody that they can rely upon. It's not going to be Kamala Harris again. So, what are they going to do? So you go to a guy who's a charismatic governor of the largest state in the country, and this is he's the guy. So he's not giving. He may be termed out of office, but he's not going anywhere. He's just not going anywhere at all.
A spokesperson for Newsom last month told Newsweek this, quote, that the same group of far-right activists have launched 6 different recall attempts against the governor since he's taken office, each one of which have failed spectacularly. As they mentioned, as you know, Recall, what's not true? Because recall efforts have failed. You think it's going to be different. You're shaking your head. Explain. The floor is yours.
There's been one recall attempt that hit the ballot. Not 8, not 9, not 14. There's been one. The voters of California have voted one time on a recall against him 3.5 years ago when he was at 52% popularity. He's at 24% popularity now, and this recall attempt we are doing right now will qualify for the ballot. So this will be the second recall attempt on him. And I know he likes to be able to call us MAGA extremists. I think we have, out of our entire board of directors, we maybe have 2 or 3 that are actual, quote unquote, identified as conservatives. So, I mean, I know he loves sticking to the points of calling us all MAGA extremists and followers of Donald Trump and that sort of thing. Yet he's literally on his knees at the White House, begging for $40 billion right now so he can put it in his coffers to be able to, quote unquote, reimagine Pacific Palisades, to reimagine Altadena. So he's the biggest phoniest politician in America, and his talking points are really outdated, and they're absolutely comical at this point, and people are seeing right through it. And they can label anybody they want and label us as anything that they are, and it's just a talking point, and it's not reality, and people are seeing through it.
And you're saying, hey, this isn't based on party. This is based on leadership here. That's what you're saying, right?
It's based upon people. It's based upon people. Yeah. I mean, we live in, yes, California is, quote unquote, a democratic state. But I think what you're seeing right now is voters are angry. People are hurting. People aren't working. They can't afford $6 and $7 a gallon for gas. $6 and $7 for a gallon of gas here in California. And that spikes every month. And there's only one person who can control the California gas tax, and that's the governor and the state legislature. And so the problem isn't with us at Saving California. The problem is with him and with his attitude and his lack of leadership and his lack of ability to be able to lead. So that's kind of where we're coming from. And he wants to play political hardball. We got our baseballs ready to go, buddy.
You're saying let's go. You have Mel Gibson on your side there. So
yes,
what's
absolutely.
next? What's next in this recall process?
The next is we basically now are we will be given the formal actual petition in about 10 days, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, from the Secretary of State. He will give us a final thumbs up and says, you're ready to go ahead and start collecting signatures. So we're at the very, very final stages of us being able to get those documents printed, get those petitions on our website at savingcalifornia.vote, and to have the campaign officially begin. We'll only have 160 days, which is just 5 months, to be able to collect our signatures, which is about 1.3 million signatures. I think we figured it out to about 8,500 signatures a day. And a state of 22 million registered voters, that's a piece of cake. So we're not worried about being able to qualify. We're not worried about anything. We're just, playing by the letter of the law, and we're going to get this thing on the ballot this time. You can guarantee it.
Randy Economy, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate Saving California's time because I've had conversations now with a few of the people involved here. And as the recall attempt develops, I hope you come back on and join me and share your updates. Thank you so much for your time.